At first, Luke thought it was his mind playing tricks, his PTSD warping the sound of twigs snapping, of leaves rustling in the wind. But this was different. It was organized. A rustle here, a snarl there, low growls closing in from all directions. Then he saw them, eyes first, half a dozen glowing orbs, golden and patient in the darkness. Wolves. Drawn by the scent of blood and the slow movement of prey, they slinked into view like shadows with teeth. Not a pack out hunting. A pack out to finish something already dying. Luke stopped wheeling forward. The makeshift sled creaked to a halt behind him, the bear lying weakly atop it. It hadn't moved since their last rest. Luke didn't even know if it was still conscious. The lead wolf stepped forward, tall, lean, ribs visible beneath its gray coat. It growled low, and the others responded in kind, fanning out. "No, not like this," Luke whispered. He scanned the ground. Nothing but dirt, pine needles, and scattered branches. He snatched up the thickest one he could reach and gripped it like a spear. "This isn't how you go," he said aloud to the bear, to himself, to whoever was listening. The wolves didn't stop. One lunged. Luke swung the branch wildly, striking the air just in front of it. The wolf recoiled, but not for long. They weren't afraid. They were testing him, waiting. Luke screamed, flailing the stick again, but his arm was weak. He was already running on fumes. Another wolf darted forward from the side, teeth bared. And then, a roar, not from the wolves, not from Luke. The bear. It rose. Like some ancient force from the stories of old, the bear's roar echoed through the trees with soul-shaking violence. Its muscles trembled, but rage coursed through it like a flood. It surged off the sled and stood, wounded leg dragging but eyes ablaze. The wolves froze, and then the bear charged. It didn't matter that it was limping. Didn't matter that its strength was fading. That moment was pure instinct, pure fire. The wolves scattered, yelping into the shadows. Not one dared look back. The bear stumbled and collapsed just feet away from Luke's chair, its massive body hitting the earth with a sickening thud. "Hey!" Luke rolled forward, gripping the bear's fur. "Stay with me. Come on. You're not done yet." The bear let out a low groan, eyes fluttering. Luke knelt beside it, or as close as he could in his chair, and rested his bloodied hand on its head. "You saved me," he said. "Now it's my turn again." They moved through the rest of the night like ghosts. Luke's arms burned from the effort of pushing through the undergrowth. His gloves were soaked through with blood, some his, some the bear's. Every stone jarred his spine. Every uphill route felt like a mountain. The bear was no longer able to walk, so he pulled it behind him, inch by inch, the sled dragging like a coffin through dirt. But the moon lit the way. And somehow, just before the sky began to gray, they reached the edge of the clearing. His cabin stood there like a lighthouse, solid, safe, barely visible through the blur of exhaustion clouding his vision. Luke collapsed on the porch, barely able to drag himself from his wheelchair. The bear lay only feet away, head resting on the cabin steps. "Rest now," Luke whispered. "We made it." Then he reached into his vest and pressed the emergency beacon, and everything went dark. The sunlight was too bright when he opened his eye. For a terrifying moment he didn't remember where he was. His throat burned, his vision swam. For a terrifying moment he didn't remember where he was. His throat burned, his vision swam. Then came a shadow, a silhouette leaning over him, familiar and unfamiliar all at once. "Luke Carter," a woman's voice said. "You always did know how to make an entrance." He blinked. Sarah. Sarah Thompson, former combat medic, old squad mate. The last person he ever expected to see again, let alone in his front yard, kneeling beside him with a trauma bag open and a look of disbelief on her face. "What are you doing here?" he croaked. "I'm the ranger on call. Got your distress beacon this morning. Came expecting to find you face down in a ravine. Instead, she turned her gaze toward the bear. It was lying still, but breathing, slow and steady. Its head rested gently against the edge of the porch, its body coiled protectively near Luke's collapsed wheelchair. "It hasn't moved from your side," she said in awe. "It's not aggressive. It wouldn't even let me touch you at first." Luke looked at the bear, heart swelling. He saved me. We saved each other." By midday, the story had spread like wildfire. Luke was a decorated veteran, a local hero turned forest recluse, now a national mystery. Cameras appeared on his street. Reporters begged for quotes, and there, always in the background, was the image they couldn't get enough of: a massive brown bear lying calmly beside a paralyzed man on a porch, both of them scarred, both of them survivors. But not everyone was enchanted. Wildlife authorities arrived with tranquilizers and protocols. "This animal's been conditioned by human contact," one officer said. "It could be dangerous. It has to be sedated and transferred to a secure facility." Luke rolled forward between them and the bear. "You'll have to go through me." The standoff was brief. Sarah stepped in before things could escalate. "Give me time to run a full medical exam. I'll determine if he's safe to relocate." Luke looked at her, gratitude heavy in his eyes. "Thank you." Later that night, Sarah emerged from the cabin's makeshift clinic, her face pale. Luke knew something was wrong before she even spoke. "I scanned his body," she said quietly. "He's covered in scar tissue. Not just from injuries. These are surgical. Internal stitching. Broken bones that healed wrong. Scarring around the teeth and jaw. You know what this is, Luke?" He didn't answer. Sarah did. "He was a fight animal. For years. I've seen this in dogs rescued from rings. They doped him, trained him, forced him to fight." Luke looked at the bear, sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. "He never lashed out," he whispered. "Not once." "That's the miracle," she said. "He still chose to protect." Then she reached into her bag and held up a plastic tag, taken from the bear's ear. "Why is the state trying to take a hero's only friend?" Within days, the world was watching. Protests erupted in front of state wildlife offices. Wildlife advocates camped outside court buildings. 1 million signature petitions spread online like a lifeline. Activists marched holding pictures of Echo, the bear now branded a symbol of both human cruelty and survival. And in the eye of the storm, Luke sat quietly beside the creature who had once roared wolves away just to protect him. Luke never wanted to be famous. Not when he came home from the war. Not when he wheeled into isolation and tried to let the silence of the trees speak louder than memories. But when the legal notice came, Echo must be surrendered for indefinite detainment and behavioral evaluation, he knew he couldn't be silent anymore. He called Sarah first. "I want to fight this," he said. "You won't have to do it alone," she replied, and she meant it. Within 48 hours, Sarah had connected him with a lawyer known for defending animal rights in impossible cases. Eli Navarro, an ex-prosecutor who'd turned his back on the system after seeing too many creatures treated like trash. Together, the trio became a team. The ranger, the lawyer, the soldier, and the bear who'd survived them all. They compiled medical reports, vet assessments, drone footage from Sarah's arrival, statements from trauma therapists, and, perhaps most powerful of all, videos of Luke and Echo in rehab. It started small, a few minutes a day in the yard. Luke, strapped into resistance bands to regain arm strength. Echo, limping but alert, nosing a log with honey spread over it. At first, they simply existed, side by side. Then Echo began inching closer, brushing against Luke's chair. Luke, in turn, began speaking out loud again, no longer afraid of the silence. And slowly, like sunlight warming frost, their healing became visible. The world watched as this once brutalized bear laid his head on a veteran's lap. As Luke smiled for the first time in years. As both began to re-enter the world through the same open door. News anchors cried on live TV, Therapists began citing Echo and Luke's story in veteran care circles. Children wrote letters addressed to Echo, the bravest bear, and the question on everyone's lips became clear. If they saved each other, why are we trying to separate them? Then came the day of the hearing. The courtroom was packed. Sarah sat next to Luke, her uniform crisp, her expression steel. Echo, too large and unpredictable for court, waited in a secured sanctuary trailer just outside, monitored by animal handlers and guarded like a celebrity. Eli rose. He didn't open with law. He opened with truth. He opened with truth. This is not just about a bear. It's about a soul that was tortured, caged, and nearly killed, not by nature, but by man. And yet, instead of becoming the monster he was trained to be, he protected someone weaker. He chose mercy. Isn't that what we're supposed to reward? The judge didn't blink. Are you suggesting this animal understands ethics? No, Eli said. I'm saying he understands trauma, and so does the man he saved. He turned to Luke, who wheeled forward and removed a folded sheet of paper from his pocket. His hands trembled slightly as he began. I used to think I came home from the war alive, Luke said. But I didn't. Not really. I was breathing, but I wasn't living. Echo, he reminded me what life is. Not just to survive, but to trust, to connect, to fight for something again. He paused, looking straight at the judge. I know what it means to be thrown away, to be treated like a problem. Echo is not a problem. He's a survivor, and if we can't protect survivors, what the hell are we doing? The judge took 3 days. 3 long days filled with tense headlines, worried activists, and Luke refusing to leave Echo's side. Then, on the 4th morning, the ruling came down. Echo would not be detained. He would not be studied. He would be granted full sanctuary status under permanent wildlife protection, with Luke Carter named as his non-custodial sponsor and emotional rehabilitation partner. It was unprecedented, and it shook the system to its core. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Luke helped oversee the construction of a new sanctuary, just a mile from his cabin, designed with wheelchair paths, interactive enrichment zones, and open forest stretches for Echo to roam freely while still monitored. The poacher, whose bootprint had nearly gone unnoticed, was arrested after a deeper investigation tied him to an underground animal fighting ring spanning multiple states. With Echo's scars and recovered chain collar as evidence, the case closed swiftly. And Luke? He became a reluctant face of a movement. He spoke at veteran care centers. He advocated for animal therapy and PTSD programs. He never sought the spotlight, but he owned it when it found him. The sanctuary path curved like a ribbon through the trees, winding gently from Luke's back door all the way to Echo's enclosure. But there was no fence, only trust and routine. Every morning, Echo would walk to Luke's cabin. He'd sit on the porch beside the man who once fought wolves to save him, and he'd rest his massive head in Luke's lap, letting out a contented huff. Some days they sat there for hours, saying nothing, and then, one late autumn afternoon, Echo did something unexpected. Luke was sipping coffee on the porch when the bear emerged from the trees with something clenched in his jaws. At first, Luke thought it was a branch. Then he saw the rusted glint of metal. It was the old chain collar, the one Luke had cut free in the woods, the one thought lost to time. Echo walked up slowly. He dropped the collar at Luke's feet and stepped back. Luke stared at it for a long moment, emotions crashing over him like a wave. Then he reached down, picked it up, and tossed it into the nearby fire pit. The flames caught quickly, dancing around the metal. Echo watched silently. When the collar crumpled into ash, the bear turned and wandered back into the trees. No chains, no fear, no master, only freedom. Luke sat back, tears in his eyes, and whispered, "Goodbye, prison. Hello, forever."